So Misthalin and Karamja are very unique when it comes to regions because these regions are given to you at the start. You don't get to choose them, you don't get a say in the matter. Everybody is on the same level playing ground. We all have the same regions, we're all stuck with them. And as such, there's a couple of things you want to really prioritize. And because this is the first region, this is what you get right out of the get-go day one, we're going to take this in the vacuum of what am I supposed to do on this first day in this region. We're not going to really look too hard at what the end game content looks like, the little bit that does exist. You can come back later anytime and do that. But most of this region should be done in the first couple of hours or day of your Trailblazer League experience. So what should you be prioritizing? What do you do with this region that you're stuck with? And the short answer is get out. Please leave. You want to make sure that you are really, really focusing tasks early. Doesn't matter what they are for the most part. You just want to find a task that you can look at and go, hey, I can go do that. That shouldn't take me long to do. Boom, off you go do the task. You unlock new regions by completing an amount of tasks. We don't know the exact number, but let's say they say do 60 tasks. It doesn't matter if they're easy tasks or medium tasks or a master task. It is just the quantity. And so in general, you want to focus on those easy and medium tasks. You don't want to worry about your gear. You don't want to worry about your stats. Those will come kind of second nature to doing these tasks because everything is level 1. So what can you do at level 1? Well, I can pickpocket a man. Hey, that's probably a task. Hey, I can go do sheep shear at level 1. That's probably a task, right? So you can go around and you can knock out these tasks and get some passive stats with them, but don't focus. Don't just say, hey, I'm just going to fish to 99 fishing day 1 because I can. You can do a little bit of fishing, unlock Karamjans, do the quest, boom, I'm just going to camp Karamjans to 99. It is not worth it. Please get out of this region as fast as you possibly can. The point of this is this also sets a good foundation. You're going to have a little bit of levels in every single one of your stats doing these various tasks to unlock your next region. And that makes it to where when you jump into your second region, all of those tasks that now require you to have 30 thieving are just unlocked because you already did that passively while working on your tasks in the first Misthalin and Karamja starter area. And so that's your plan. Get out as fast as you can. So with our priorities all set now, we should talk about the tasks themselves and what is it that you should be doing these first couple of hours. Now, I do want to make us a small point here, is that about 25% of the tasks from the original Trailblazer League are going to be different. They're going to be adding some new ones, they're going to be removing some old ones, they're going to increase the total number of tasks across the league, and about 25% of the tasks across every region total is going to be new. With that in mind, I'm going to be referencing some tasks from that Trailblazer League 1 that may or may not even exist, but we're going to take some assumptions that most of the ones in the first starter regions are probably going to be the same because there's not a lot that they can change. So with that said, when you spawn on Lumbridge, day 1, you spawn, you're there. The very, very first thing I recommend that you do is find a task that's going to take you anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes to complete, but something that you can multitask with. So this might be drain our village rooftops. Like there might be a task to do 100 of those, or go catch 300 trout because that might be a task, right? Where it's going to take you a little bit of time, but it's a very, very multitaskable thing. And what you want to do is while you're doing that task, you want to be spending some time looking at the task list that they've published. Go through and find some really easy tasks that are nearby to wherever you are at, doing that 10-15 minute long task, that when you're done with that task, you can just be like, hey, as soon as this is done, I'm going to do XYZ thing, and have 5, 10, 20, 30, depending on how easy those tasks are and how well you can multitask. You can make a pretty good plan in 10-15 minutes of things you're going to go and do. And just so that way you can have things that are nearby and you can really just speed run through those first 60 tasks that you might need to unlock your next region. Now, when you're thinking about those tasks, what tasks should I be picking? There's kind of 2 big things you want to do here. And the first is you want to find things that are instanced and personalized. Things that no matter what else anybody is doing, it doesn't affect you and your ability to do that task. So running the rooftops or fishing are great examples of that, because it doesn't matter if there's 500 people fishing on the same spot or 2,000 people running the agility lap at the same time. You're still going to get your Mark of Grace completely separately from everybody else. It's just as fast regardless of how many people are there, and are great examples of tasks that are good to do when there's this many people running around in the same place. Things that you don't want to do are things like sheep shear or mine a copper ore. If you think about sheep shear, there's 10, 15 sheep in that pen, and if you have 2,000 people all at the same time going into that pen trying to shear the same sheep, it's going to be chaos and take you so long to just get those balls of wool, and everybody's going to be doing it. So you actually just want to skip that and come back and do that a little bit later. Or everybody, there's probably going to be a task to mine a copper ore, and everybody and their mother is going to be at the Lumbridge Swamp Mine trying to mine one of those 3 rocks that are there. And unfortunately, not everybody gets to mine the rock. It's not separate. Every single person is going to be swinging their pick, and it's going to choose one person out of that stack of people to give the ore to. And that's really bad time-wise, is to be fighting with the masses. Don't get stuck with them. If you look here, there used to be a task to kill the lesser demon in the wizard tower, and this task was adorable. There's tons of clips out there of people waiting in line with the masses where they would be as nice, cute, adorable. Everybody was so patient and calm with each other, just letting everybody take their turn. Really fond memories of people doing that, but it's really inefficient to do because you're waiting for 5, 10, 15 minutes for everybody in line to kill this one demon to get an easy task done, when instead you could be going and doing something that'll actually progress your stats a little bit, that helps you double dip while also completing tasks. And I promise you there will be plenty of tasks to do that you don't need to get hung up on tasks like this that you'll have to fight with the masses with. Now, one other thing task related I want to touch on is something that I'm going to call my hot take of the day. And my hot take of the day is that clues are bad. Clues are actively bad, and you should not do them. Regardless of whether it's Trailblazer League, it's the main game, do not do clues. When you see a clue on the ground, go ahead and just leave it there. If you accidentally pick it up because you're mash clicking the loot pile, go ahead and just throw them back on the ground. You can walk away from the clues. When you're far enough away that they're off screen, go ahead and give them a wave, tell them goodbye, leave them there, because you are not doing clues. Clues are a waste of time. They pull you away from the skills, activities, bossing that you're doing that is actively progressing your account. So that way you can go ahead and open it and get 30k off an elite clue that took you 3 hours to do, because you didn't have all the recs or music or whatever it is that you needed for that clue available to you. And none of that stuff that you did to undo that clue even helped your account at all. And instead it was just a giant detour that distracted you and wastes so much time. So don't bother with clues, move on. Alright, as we talk about skilling with Misthalin and Karamja, the big thing I want to highlight and remind you is our goal here is not necessarily to get a bunch of levels. Our goal here is to complete tasks and unlock new regions and relic tiers, as that is what's going to give you more XP multipliers, and skilling early when you don't have the big XP multipliers is kind of a waste of time. So in general, we're going to have a lot of these that aren't going to be worth doing as far as actually training, but things that are going to be really task oriented for our do's and don'ts list here. So the first things I want to talk about is combat in general, just everything combat: attack, strength, defense, your HP, your range, your magic, your prayer. Are all things that we are just going to completely avoid. I'm actually going to loop Slayer in here as well, with the caveat of, if you notice the notes, there will probably be a task to do one Slayer task for each master, Vanica, Duradel, and the Fairy in Xanaris, which you should do one of each of those. They'll probably assign things like cows or skeletons, things that are very easy as a level 1 that you can do. But besides that, do not train combat. There's lots of skills that give combat XP that will really push you forward into really fast levels with the XP multipliers, and there isn't really a reason to train. There's not really much gear in this region for you to get early, so it's just worth waiting until we have better regions to do things. On kind of the counter side of that, though, I do want to talk about agility. So agility is a giant do. You really want to do agility. You'll actually start with 10 agility right out of the get-go, so you can go immediately to the Drainer Village rooftop course and do a lot of laps on that course. There'll probably be a lot of tasks like do 1 lap, do 50 laps, do 100 laps. There'll be get a Mark of Grace, which follows suit down the line for later game, make staminas, get a full graceful set type task will exist. And so there's a lot of tasks surrounded by agility, and you can't really skip the early game agility besides doing some quests and trying to like skip it. But then you're missing out on these tasks anyway. So if you're gonna have to do these tasks at some point, do them now, do them early, knock it out, and then when you can, and you finish all the Drainer Village tasks, move over to Varrock, do the Varrock tasks for the Varrock Rooftop course, and then you have a really, really cool line where you can then go to the Brimhaven course. And last Trailblazer League, there was 4 tasks related to the Brimhaven course. There was get 1 ticket, spend 10 tickets on a Snapdragon, or Snapdragon, words are hard. There was do 60 tickets back to back to back to back without messing up, which takes exactly 1 hour to do. And then there was a master task for turning in 1,000. And so what you want to do is, after you're done with Varrock, go to Brimhaven, spend 1 hour straight doing nothing but getting 60 tickets without messing up. You complete a bunch of tasks for doing that. When you're done, come out, buy the Snapdragon for 10 tickets, take those remaining 50, throw them in your bank and save them for a rainy day. When you need something, hey, I have 15 minutes on a lunch break at work that I can play, doing 15 laps and getting 15 tickets at the Brimhaven course to slowly chip away at that 1,000 Brimhaven laps is a great thing to do over the course of the whole league. And this is a really good foundational base to be able to do that, is knock out this early agility. That said, we're going to bounce back down to rune crafting. You're going to want to avoid rune crafting. You do not have a good way of getting talismans, even though there'll probably be some easy tasks like make some water runes, make some earth runes, do the Varrock diary that requires you to make earth runes. Like, those are all tasks that you could technically do. You don't have a good way of getting to the talismans to actually go into the altar to make those. So it's much better to wait. Rune crafting ends up become a super easy skill once you get last recall. So it's one of those things that you just gotta push it off until you have better XP multipliers and there's better tasks to do anyway. Construction also kind of follows that same boat. Is construction doesn't do a lot for you early. You have to get some really higher end levels to do anything with it. And there's just better ways of trading it later on as you unlock different regions. So we're just gonna wait to do it. The caveat here is Daddy's Home is a quest that unlocks your house and gives you some teleports and stuff. It's pretty fast. It's in Varrock. There'll probably be a task related to it, and you should do that task. It's pretty good. Do the quest, get those teleports. You can sell the bars and stuff for some early GP. And so that's a pretty good thing to do, but besides that, we're going to ignore it. I do want to mention down the line, when you come back later on after these first couple of days, you do have the ability of getting a limestone altar in your POH, because there is a limestone mine above the dig site, which is probably the best prayer training method for like 80% of the regions. So know that that is here and that you get that automatically, but it's not something you want to do in the first couple of days. As you are doing the Slayer tasks, if you see herbs on the ground, please pick them up. Do not use them. Do not train them. Don't even clean them. Keep them grimy. We want to wait until we have more XP multipliers, as every XP counts when it comes to herb lore. If you get lamps, lamping herb lore is great. But in general, you don't want to train herb lore at all. Thieving, on the other hand, is like one of the best skills you can train. There are so many tasks related to thieving: pickpocket a man, pickpocket a guard, open 20 pouches at once, open up pouches and get X amount of gold, which last league was just pickpocket 20 Varrock guards. I think pickpocket a guard and pickpocket a Varrock guard was both a task last season. So if you got 40 and you did a Varrock guard, you completed 2 tasks by itself. There's a tea stall that's probably will be a task again. Thieving is very task loaded and super easy to do in these starter regions, so definitely focus on it. Crafting and fletching both kind of follow the same boat. You want to do them for the tasks that exist for them. There will be things like craft a ball of wool, or make a short bow, or fletch 150 arrows. And those are things you want to do that are pretty easy, because wood cutting is really, really good in this region as well. You have basically every tree type in the starting region. You can do normal logs all the way through magic. You have hardwoods in Karamja that you can actually get access to for construction. So it's really, really diverse in terms of what you can chop. You actually have the ability of getting a rune axe as well if you go to the Enchanted Valley and kill the guys there. They do drop Addy and rune axes, so woodcutting is really, really good as well. And since woodcutting is good, fire making also has to be good, right? There's going to be tasks related to like burn a willow log, burn an oak log, those type of things. As you get your woodcutting level up and you can chop those new logs, definitely kind of passively work through those fire making tasks as well. Something to mention here is forestry just came out. Whether or not they make tasks related to forestry is really up in the air, especially because Arctic pine is something that you need for basically every reward. And same with redwoods. I kind of expect that they're either going to have to make a giant exception for the rewards, or they're just going to leave forestry out and it's just not going to be a really feasible thing to do. And there probably won't be tasks related to it. So that's kind of a to be dated. We'll see how that turns out. In the second category, let's round that off and knock out Hunter. Hunter is really good. You have two different ways of trading Hunter. And I highly recommend doing one or the other. You probably don't want to focus it too hard. There's better trading methods that you'll unlock from other regions. But no, you can do birdhouses right off the get-go. Doing Daddy's Home, which should be enough construction experience for you to make the crafting table to make your clockworks. You'll have some steel bars from that quest as well. You can do some birdhouse runs. Birdhouses are really hard to get to though, so if you ever have like a couple hours where, hey, I'm out of the house, I'm running around, I'm doing errands, set your account up with some logs and some seeds on Fossil Island, do a birdhouse run while you're doing your errands, log in, do another run, and just kind of passively get those hunter levels as you're out and about when you can't sit down and actively play. But on the flip side, if you do want to actively trade hunter, doing Puro and knocking out the 50 and 200 imp catches is really, really good. You'll get a lot of hunter XP, you'll get a lot of passive random resources that will help you complete other tasks from that. And it's really, really good to do. So really focus on those if you can, and you have the ability of actively trading hunter. Mining and smithing go hand in hand. There's going to be a bunch of smithing tasks. Make a steel bar, make a bronze bar, make some arrow tips, make a spear, make a plate body, that type of thing. Mine whatever ore you need in order to do the smithing tasks, but don't really do any more than that. There's a lot of quests that give mining and smithing XP that you kind of want to knock out, but those early tasks are pretty easy to do. The hardest part is finding a good mine that is away from the populace. Do not do the Lumbridge swamp mine. It is going to be so packed with people trying to get their first couple of ore and mining for those tasks. There is a couple of by Edgeville and Varrock that are really, really good, that will be a little bit less crowded. Highly recommend going to those instead. Fishing and cooking are very similar to smithing and mining. Go to the spots, fish. Luckily this one doesn't matter if it's crowded, everybody can share the same spots. But there'll be a lot of tasks. Catch a shrimp, catch an anchovy, catch a herring, catch some trout, catch some salmon, cook all of them, that type of thing. Go and do every single one of those tasks. You're gonna have to catch these early fish anyway, so this is a great way of knocking those out. And lastly, you have farming. Farming is awful in this region. It actually ends up becoming really, really good late game, but you have no way of getting tree seeds. And as such, all these tree patches in this region don't do you any good. So just ignore it until you get some quests that give you some farming level that you can leapfrog into being able to use some tree seeds that you end up getting from birdhouses down the line, or whatever other way you happen to unlock them. Yeah, and with that is skilling in Misthalin and Karamja. So as we come to the end of our do's and don'ts for our starter regions of Misthalin and Karamja, I want to give you guys some bonus tips for the entire league. Things that you can and should do over the course from day 1 to the end of the 8th week. And the first one of those is day 1 at the launch. Don't feel like you have to be on the second it launches, especially if you're in like a US time zone where it's going to be launching at 4 or 5 a.m. Like, don't feel like you have to ruin your sleep schedule to be on the first second that it's live. There's a good chance that we might have some technical hiccups, we might have some delays, and then you're just sitting there ruining your sleep schedule for nothing. It's fine being a couple hours late. It's okay getting on later that evening when you get off work. It's okay. Those worlds are going to be packed and full all day, and you're not going to miss out. You have to remember that Trailblazer League is 8 weeks. It's a marathon. It is not a sprint. Make sure that you are taking breaks. We kind of meme on it. At 4 hours, Jagex literally tells you to take a break, and nobody ever does. In 6 hours, it literally tells, like, Force logs you out of the game for you to just instantly log back in. Like, it is okay. Get up, take a break, go to the gym, get some food, hydrate, take a nap. Like, it is all totally fine to get up and walk away because you have 8 weeks to do all these things. And keeping your mental and physical health at peak will make you play and be so much more efficient in the game, and you will feel so much better going through the league following these things than if you try to degen, play 20 hours a day, eat only the bare necessities, and drink Red Bull or G Fuel the whole time. Like, it is okay to take care of yourself during league. You have plenty of time to do that.